Introducing the Chart Guys Swing Report, a weekly digital publication that uses technical analysis to identify long-term market opportunities. Understand the market from a swing trade perspective. Follow institutional money as it rotates from sector to sector, and make the most of the Swing Report's weekly trade opportunities, with key entry and exit levels provided. Performance is tracked and updated weekly. For more information, visit us at chartguys.com. Now, let's check out some charts.
Hey traders, a little end of the week MJ check-in. Only going to be looking at CGC on the Canadian side of things, as all the other major names are weaker than CGC. So if we want to be watching one of the stronger Canadian MJ names and the potential setup as we head into the election, we're sticking with CGC. So first things first, we have to start with SPY and see what we did on the week, because what we did on the week was put up the most bearish week that we have seen, pretty much tied with the most bearish week. The difference is this was coming from the high. This was coming from a lower high. One of the most bearish weeks we've seen in the entirety of the bounce. That's extremely notable because it absolutely has an impact on the MJ sector as a whole. And we've seen many days this past week where US MJ was down with the broader market. That changed a bit today, and it was very notable how well US MJ and even CGC held up while SPY was down over 1%, and there was a lot of red out there. So that's where SPY stands. CGC has multiple daily inside bars. So we know to be watching for a spike in volume and volatility to start next week. Whether it's a bull break or a bear break remains to be seen. The bulls have the edge because of the daily uptrend, looking for a higher low, anything above 1744, and because we close at the high of the day. So if the bulls break 1882 and 1897, we are then watching 2044. And one thing we have to be aware of is the potential of a head and shoulders. And what that could look like is, let's say we start next week bearish for a day or two, and then the sector has a bearish reaction to the election. Then we would confirm a head and shoulders, we would confirm a daily downtrend, and we would zoom out and look for a weekly higher low. And there's a lot of space for that to form. We also have earnings coming up next week as well to be aware of. And of course, best case for the bulls would be a bullish reaction to the election and to break 2044 to keep this move going. That being said, if 2044 were to break, I would be watching this uptrending resistance line for a rejection. On to USMJ, IIPR, we were watching this daily rising wedge, which has broken bearish and seen significant follow through. From here, I am watching a weekly head and shoulders potentially setting up. And this was a scenario where we were watching IIPR right here and being like, why is it this strong heading into some votes that could potentially begin the unwinding of their edge in their business plan, as far as companies being strapped for cash, not having banks to work with, and needing loans and money and selling properties to IIPR for cash to expand operations, yada yada. And my thought is just got to be the fact that we're on the NYSE and there's a lot of dollar volume being traded, and that is where bulls are choosing exposure. Obviously, that has changed massively in the last 2 weeks, as we are now down 15% plus from that high. So on the weekly time frame, what I am watching for is a weekly lower high to form next time we bounce. I would love to see the bulls hold 108.50 support, which held today. And if we hold that level and get the bounce, we'll watch for a lower high compared to 136.63, which is a double top at the all-time high. If we look back here, and then we would be watching for the potential of a right shoulder forming. And why am I looking for this? Doesn't really have to do with those fundamentals. It has more to do with the fact that we ran over 200% with no monthly consolidation, and now that monthly consolidation is shaping up after a double top at the all-time high. So just something to be aware of after a very significant shift in momentum, with bulls losing all momentum. And this is, again, one of the most notable pullbacks we've seen on this entire bounce. GRWG is also losing momentum. A weekly lower high is set. So all-time high, low of the pullback is 1311, lower high is set at 2133, and now we're looking for a weekly higher low compared to 1311. And again, it's a big pullback all week, more in line with the broader market. Why is the correlation stronger? Again, we're on the NASDAQ, and any name that's trading on the NYSE or the NASDAQ is going to have more correlation with the S&P 500 due to automated trading bots and algos, as opposed to names trading on the OTC. So again, just flashing over to SPY real quick, very, very similar 5 days for GRWG and SPY. CURLF, I don't like how these OTC market makers open candles and give these wicks. If you look at it on the Canadian side, it's much more orderly and much more in line with what actually happened during the trading day. So we are up at resistance of 1253, 1255, and then 13 is the key level. Again, the last thing the bulls want to see is an inability to break $13 and then a pullback back down towards 1112 support. One more touch on SPY that I forgot to mention. Weekly support is in play. If we have a bullish reaction to the market for the election results, we have a weekly equilibrium. That is best case scenario, and the MJ sector will get a red flag if the broader market confirms a weekly downtrend and confirms monthly consolidation is going to get more follow through. Best case scenario is for SPY to hold 319 and stay in a weekly equilibrium. So Kira has to break 13 to keep this move going. It's entirely possible we do. We're not that far away. We're 4%, 5% away, and we've seen that in a day fairly easily at times. So watching all about 13, and our most important support is 1112. GTBIF, I still have a position. I exited some position. I paired down in GTBIF and TCNNF. Why? Because I'm not going hyper aggressive right now. I really like where my account is at. I really like the gains that I've seen over the last month in the USMJ space. And if I make a mistake scaling out, I will leave money on the table. I will not give back the profit that I already have. So we have to be watching GTBIF for the same thing. If we fail to break 1683, it's a potential head and shoulders. So if we fail 1683 and break 1465, we are then in a daily downtrend. Burden of proof is on the bears to lose this daily uptrend, and the bulls certainly want to break 1683 to keep this daily uptrend going. Another thing about why I scaled out of positions, if I disregard the election, there's technical red flags on these MSOs. Just initial red flags, nothing major. Breaking weekly support straight into a pullback is not ideal. And pretty much everybody did that out of our major names. GTBIF, we broke key resistance, 1668 and 1630 were right here. And we broke both levels straight into a pullback. Anytime I'm in a bullish position, if you break resistance straight into a pullback, it is an automatic red flag. So that is another reason why I scaled out a little bit into this move, not wanting to give it back. TCNNF holding on real well. Daily higher low is 21.95. Resistance is multiple tops at 24.24, and we're very close. Again, we can easily break this level and continue this daily uptrend, but one thing I'm watching out for, if we fail 26.50, it's a weekly lower high with a lot of range and a potential weekly equilibrium. So essentially the technical signs are telling me be a bit cautious, with me being well aware that the fundamental catalyst of election results could completely disregard those technicals, but sticking to technicals is what has helped me over the last decade. CRLBF is the weakest of the major four, and we've got our resistance up at 783 and 782. And again, we have to be watching for the inability to break that resistance on the next bounce, and the last thing the bulls want to see is a confirmed daily downtrend. Resistance 782 is over 10% away, and you look at a name like TRUL, which is only 3-4% from its resistance, they're just shaping up a little bit differently. Let's go TRSSF as well. I don't trade this name because the volume is not significant enough for me, but it's very similar. Resistance is up here at 618, certainly close enough to see continuation, but the last thing the bulls want to see is an inability to break 618, and then roll over and lose the daily support of 556. So again, just keeping it real. I want this sector to go up. I want to get the best election results. I want hype, FOMO, all-time highs. I want it all. But I have to prepare for the other side if we don't get what we want. And we have to be prepared with game plans. Are you going to hold through weekly consolidation? What if the S&P 500 loses weekly support and pulls back on the monthly time frame? These are all questions we need to know now and not after the fact when emotions are going to be highest. Best of luck out there. We'll check back in certainly next week as we get some results, hopefully. Certainly we'll get some Arizona and New Jersey results. And we'll see you then. Have a good weekend. Do good things. Pretty sure this clan of finches, who are certainly new, but I think the sunflowers in the driveway got them populating the area. They were not here last year. They are everywhere. Every day is just a party.